All right, let's talk about something that makes most of us, just groan. The performance review. That once-a-year meeting that's supposed to sum up our entire professional value. But what if the whole concept is kind of broken? In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on this corporate ritual and show you a much smarter, way more effective way to think about performance.
Okay, let's dive right in. Because let's be honest, you've probably been there. You sit down, you get a number, maybe some fuzzy feedback about something that happened 6 months ago, and you walk out thinking, what was the point of that? Well, that frustration you feel, it's not just you. It actually points to a huge misunderstanding of what performance is all about. And today, we're getting to the bottom of it.
So the root of the problem really starts here, with what academics call the science-practice gap. What that means is, for decades, researchers have been figuring out what actually works to motivate people and improve performance. But in the real world, inside most companies, a lot of that knowledge just gets ignored.
And that's the great divide, right there. You've got all this amazing research, but managers on the front lines, they look at it and think it's too academic, too theoretical for the day-to-day grind. This disconnect is exactly why so many performance systems feel like they're just about ticking boxes and, honestly, frustrating everybody involved.
So how do we start to bridge this gap? It really starts with getting our words straight. See, we tend to use two terms as if they're the same thing, but they are worlds apart: performance appraisal and performance management.
Think about it this way. A performance appraisal, that's your classic annual review, is like a snapshot. It's a single photo taken once a year, usually driven by HR, and it's all about judging what you did in the past. But performance management, that's a whole different ballgame. It's a continuous, forward-looking process. It's driven by managers, it's focused on development, and it's connected to where the company is going. It's not a snapshot, it's more like a dynamic, ongoing video feed of your work.
And listen, this isn't just a simple vocabulary lesson. This distinction has a massive impact on the bottom line. The data is pretty staggering. Companies that have a real performance management system are 51% more likely to financially outperform their competition. That's a huge deal, and it also leads to happier customers and people sticking around longer.
So let's look at how this plays out in the real world. Merrill Lynch completely changed their approach. They got rid of the old-school annual appraisal and switched to ongoing conversations and feedback from multiple people. But here's the most important part. They made sure every single employee's goals were aligned with the company's strategy, and they trained their managers on how to do it. The message was loud and clear. We all know what's expected of us, how we'll get help, and how we'll be measured.
So, if it's not just one big meeting, what does the system actually look like? Well, it's a continuous cycle. It's a logical loop where every stage just flows right into the next. You got to think of it as a perpetual conversation, not some final exam.
There are 6 stages. First, prerequisites, basically making sure everyone knows the mission and what their job actually is. Then comes planning, where you agree on the what and the how. After execution, actually doing the work, you get to assessment, where both you and your manager check in on progress. That leads to the review meeting. But here's the absolute key. It ends with renewal, where you take everything you learned and use it to start the whole cycle all over again. See, it's a living, breathing thing.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds fantastic in theory, right? A logical, continuous process that makes people better and companies more successful. Which leads to a pretty big question. If this system is so great, why do so many companies still get it so incredibly wrong? Why do those reviews still feel pointless?
And here's the paradox. It's not because companies aren't trying. One global survey found that a whopping 91% of organizations already have a formal performance system on the books. So the tools are there. What is going on?
This is the real story. Even with 91% of companies having a system, one survey found that over 80% of employees feel their reviews do absolutely nothing to help them improve. I mean, that is a catastrophic failure rate. The process is there, but it's just not working.
The reason for this spectacular failure is that a system by itself is never enough. The missing ingredient is the people part. It's the human element. To actually make these things work, you have to bring in those human-centered insights from behavioral science, the very same research that's usually ignored.
So what does that look like in the real world? It means asking some pretty tough questions. Is the leadership team actually visibly supporting this process? Is there real trust that the system is fair and helpful, and not just a tool for punishment? Is the communication clear and constant? And maybe the most important question of all, does everybody involved, managers and employees, feel like they're getting something valuable out of it? What researchers call a fair social exchange.
This story about the former CEO of GE, Jack Welch, just nails it. He didn't just create a system and walk away, he lived it. For 4 years, he personally read one manager's weekly reports and sent back comments. That manager said later that just knowing the CEO was personally invested was what motivated him to hit a massive goal. That's not just a process, that is leadership making a process feel meaningful. So, let's bring this all home. We've looked at the gap between science and reality, the huge difference between appraisal and management, and that critical human element. At the end of the day, what is the ultimate goal here? Ultimately, a successful performance system is not about judgment. It's not about giving out a grade. It is a strategic tool for getting everyone on the same page and helping them develop. It is a platform for continuous, forward-looking growth for the person and for the entire organization.
And that leaves us with one last question for you to think about. Look at your own workplace. Is your organization just appraising tasks that are already done? Or is it truly managing performance as a continuous, strategic, and deeply human conversation? Because that difference, well, that can be everything. Thanks for tuning in.